As a young citizen of India, armed with technology, knowledge, and love for my nation, with a vision of transforming India into a developed nation, I'm joining Shobhit University. What about you?
Very good morning to all the participants to the international webinar series on open source digital technologies towards self-reliant India. Shobhit Institute of Engineering and Technology, Meerut, deemed to be university, and it's a Centers of Excellence, Center for Informatics Development Solutions and Applications, and Center for Industry 4.0 Technology Studies and Applications, in association with African Asian Rural Development Organization, ARDO, New Delhi, organized this weekly international webinar series on open source digital technologies towards self-reliant India, Atmanirbhar Bharat. Today is the 95th edition of the webinar series, 15th October 2022. On behalf of the Honorable Chancellor, His Excellency the Secretary General Ardo, Honorable Vice Chancellor, the faculty members of the university, and on my behalf, and as Professor Emeritus and Chairman of the Centers of Excellence, Center for Agricultural Informatics and E-Governance Research Studies, Center for Agri-Business and Disaster Management Studies, Center for Informatics Development Solutions and Applications, and Center for Industry 4.0 Technology Studies and Application, and Center for Health Informatics and Computing. Let me welcome our guest speaker of the today's webinar, Mr. Prakash Ramachandran. Today's topic is transformation through technology. Transformation through technology, pathway for industries to embrace digital, operational, and knowledge transformation for participating in global value chain. Very important topic. I wish to inform the participants and speaker of the university that the university regularly conducts two webinar series, namely National Webinar Series on Doubling Farmers' Income by 2022, Atmanirbhar Bharat in Agriculture, on every Thursday, and International Webinar Series on Open Source Digital Technology towards Self-Reliant India on every Saturday. So far, under this international webinar series, these two centers of excellence, that is Center for Informatics Development Solution and Center for Industry 4.0 Technology Studies and Applications, have conducted so far 94 lectures on very important topic. For the benefits of the participants, let me read only the title. Open technologies to provision simple and economical IT infrastructure. A roadmap for students using free and open source software and reaching goals of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Open source software in industrial IoTs for SMEs. Free and open source software adoption and business models. Open data platform for smart digital government. Technology imperatives make in India for self-reliance. Edge artificial intelligence. Data governance for self-reliant India. Digital India transforming governance and society. India's email service, citizen@indiamail.com in 22 constitutionally recognized language. Is ecosystem architecture for digital transformation. Education system, cyber critical infrastructure, seizing opportunity in open innovation and value creation network in the digital world for self-reliant economy. Today's topic also is very relevant to this topic. Education and ensuring food safety and compliance through technology in a global value chain. Digital India, urgent need for semiconductor manufacturing in India. Way back in December 2020, we had this webinar by Mr. Ajay Jalan, founder, managing partner, Next Orbit Ventures. Technology investment in agriculture value chain, role of foreign direct investment by Dr. Dharendra Kumar, IAS, former chairman, Competition Commission of India, and former executive director, the World Bank. Entrepreneurship and skill development AI designed pathways. Rise of platform economy, revisiting value chain governance, era of automation, industrial robotics, and Industry 4.0, Indo-German perspective of technology transfer, skill gap analysis, and opportunities. Role of artificial intelligence in healthcare, current developments in diagnosis and and vaccine research. Digital agri-tech and agri-startup perspective, health informatics network value chain, e-health system and beyond, leveraging emerging technology for ensuring transparent and traceable agri and food supply chain, e-governance models towards sustained quality service to citizen backed by technology. Indian MSME to adopt Industry 4.0 technology capabilities, urgent need for mentorship and accelerator program, building public digital platform using microservices and APIs, health informatics network value chain, early childhood development and learning, informatics network value chain, clinical AI, interface between machine learning and health informatics, health informatics network value chain, importance of social medicine and community health in the times of health emergency, gravity filter, a simple and low cost solution to the drinking water treatment in rural India, open source GovTech startups empowering growth with automation, digital transformation in small enterprises and small businesses of India, challenges and opportunities, National Digital Twin Program, need for a robust geospatial infrastructure, Industry 4.0 in MSMEs, benefits of indigenously developed collab CAD from National Informatics Center, mass serialization and anti-counterfeiting solutions to fight illicit trade, cyber security, risk, challenges and solutions, intelligence approach to reduce cyber risk, new internet IPv6 root server toward Atmanirbhar connected Bharat, Indian startups, reflections, and possible policy intervention needed for scaling up to Gram Panchayat, blockchain and crypto for a digital assets platform, pathways for global trade, robot as a service, leverage technology to solve enterprise challenges, space startups connecting to international markets with emerging business models, emerging enabling technologies for future vision, Vivekananda Secondary Education and Skills Development Mega Project, its potential impact on rural entrepreneurship and the rural economy in India. Sports Grail, a digital sports media platform and prospects of Indian sports industry sustainability model at a global level. Pharma 4.0, Industry 4.0 applications to pharmaceutical manufacturing, path to a digital transformation, accelerate and scale non-linear growth through partner ecosystem, technological renaissance and human capital, a perspective, health informatics network value chain, medical outreach, challenges and potential, beyond COVID-19, revitalizing micro and small enterprises, project management essentials, launchpad for future CEO and startup founders beyond, society 5.0, a new society beyond Industry 4.0 and post COVID-19. Smart Village Oblique Community, the African ICT IoT lesson, digital economy, ways and means to protect and empower for self-reliance. Pragmatic ways for Atmanirbhar Bharat, democratization of essential services by using sustainable energy as a catalyst, transforming India through relevant education and vocational training, digital technology in simplifying citizen life, online learning during the pandemic and its future, smart microeconomic zone, pathway for self-reliance at village level, crime prediction support system, knowledge management for development partnership to achieve sustainable development goals of UN and implementing the Agenda 2030. Millet value chain from IoT to blockchain, a traceability roadmap. Aspirational district program in left-wing extremism affected district, a successful model of data-driven governance. Digital agriculture supply chain and trading hub, a geo-economic perspective. Market-driven agriculture, need for development of crop-specific strategies at block level. An open agri network to unlock the $1 trillion plus potential of Indian agriculture with the smallholder farmer. Developing rural entrepreneurship to ensure doubling of farmers' income. leverage the power of convergence through connecting the dots, agri startups, agripreneurs, and rural innovators. Three dots. Agronomy plus AI is equal to precision farming. Doubling farmers' income, imperatives of plant health informatics network. Developing commercial breadfruit value chain to help farmers reach high value markets. Commodity value chain creation through agri network and agri AI. Farm to Plate, a one stop agri tech platform to simplify supply chain and e commerce needs of food and perishable commodities. Health Informatics Network Value Chain, National Animal Disease Reporting System, NADRS 2012, and beyond. AI and Metaverse, Frontiers in Workspace, Coconut Value Chain Challenges, Coconut Value Chain Challenges, Transforming into Opportunities. Coffee informatics value chain, facilitating smallholder farmers into business. Health informatics network value chain, building up one health ecosystem, role of digital architecture. Diversification of fish and fisheries resource management and its challenges in Bangladesh. Data mining and digital agriculture. Drone technology ecosystem, empowering smallholder farmers in India. Fisheries informatics network value chain, business plan for fisheries cooperatives to attract investors. Making urbanization work for the poor through new technologies. Disruptive technologies in precision agriculture. Strategy for total development of local areas with ICT, Todala model. Digital economy, ways and means to protect and empower for self-reliance. Sustainability frameworks and standards for agriculture commodities, a global experience. We Mill, a social business initiative for rural women, application of AI and digitization in agriculture and animal husbandry, organic and natural farming, certification and pay way forward. Today is the 95th edition of this very important seminar series. We will have the talk by Mr. Prakash Ramachandran, co-founder and executive director of executive secretary of Emerging Open Tech Foundation, Mumbai, Maharashtra, on the very important topic transformation through technology, T3, pathway for industries to embrace digital, operational, and knowledge transformation for participating in global value chain. Dear participants, you please see the keywords which are available from the topic: transformation, technology, pathway, industries, digital transformation, operational transformation, knowledge transformation, and participation, global value chain. India is said to be a land of villages. Acharya Vinoba Bhave said India is largely an agricultural country. It consists of about 6.25 lakh villages. 50% of the India's workforce work in agriculture sector, and it contributes about 18% GDP. Indian farming community consists of about 14.5 crores operational holders, out of which 85% are small and marginal holders having less than 2 hectares of land. Many national level programs, be it Digital India, Make in India, Skill India, Startup India, Stand Up India, programs have faced operational difficulties for its impact at farm level and farmer level, that too at small and marginal farmers. Nowadays, Make in India program are being felt at farm level through drone applications for agriculture. And I would like to quote our Honorable Prime Minister's address to the 7th Governing Council meeting of Niti Aayog held on 7th August 2022. In his opening address, he stressed the need to focus on modernized agriculture, modernized animal husbandry, modernized food processing to become self-sufficient and global leader in the agriculture. Global leader in the agriculture. And in his closing remarks, he said each state should focus on promoting trade, tourism, and technology. The title talks about T3, transformation through technology. And our Honorable Prime Minister said each state should focus on promoting three T's: trade, tourism, and technology via every Indian mission around the world. States must focus on reducing imports, increasing exports, and identifying opportunities thereof. And I also would like to quote the recommendations of the Doubling Farmers' Income by 2022 with respect to digitalization. In its volume 12B, it talks about 7 mission mode program for total digitalization of Indian agriculture. Number 1, digitalized agriculture. It talks about digital technology and innovation in agriculture, Digital India, Make in India, Skill India, Startup India programs for transformational reforms in agriculture through smart irrigated farming, smart rainfed farming, and smart tribal farming, digitalized agromet advisories and agriculture risk management solutions, digitalized agricultural resources information system and micro level planning for achieving smart village and smart farming, digitalized agriculture value chain for about 400 agriculture commodities, digitalized access to inputs, technology, knowledge, skill, agriculture, finance, credit, marketing, agribusiness management to farmers to effectively utilize their digital asset called farm. Digitalized integrated land and water management system, per drop more crop, digitalized farm health management for reduction of farmers' loss to view data through a GIS layer on human health, plant health, animal health, soil health, water health, and fish health and environmental health. This itself is $1 trillion data economy, wherein we can see India can visualize a data center with 10,000 data center scientists to work on these layers of data which are available in vertical form. And and we have Atmanirbhar Bharat. This is the vision of our honorable prime ministers to make India self-reliant based on 5 I's: intent, infrastructure, innovation, inclusion, and innovation. And intent based on 5 pillars, based on quantum jump in economy, infrastructure, one that represents modern India, system, 21st century technology driven, vibrant demography, and demand, whereby the strength of our demand and supply chain should be utilized to full capacity. Digital India program aims to transform India into a knowledge based economy and a digitally empowered society. And I would like to quote the digital journey in India. I was instrumental, I was involved in the beginning of the journey until now. District Information System Program, District, for which I was the first founder project director to bring in digitalization in the district level through 28 sectoral database development programs. And by 2005, Ministry of Information Technology launched National E-Governance Plan and National E-Governance Plan to E-Granti in August 2014. By 1995, once again, I was instrumental to bring out an IT blueprint in the agriculture sector, 15 informatics network programs. And after 10 years, the government of India comes out with the National E-Governance Plan 2005. And then 2014, and National E-Governance Plan 2.0 E-Granti in 2014, and the Digital India Program 2015. And that Digital India is based on 9 pillars. And each of these 9 pillars is a complex program in itself and across multiple ministries and departments. And also on 20th February 2019, Minister of Electronics and Information Technology published a report titled India's $1 trillion Digital Opportunity in collaboration with McKinsey and Company. This report identified about 30 digital themes. If scaled up nationally, can accelerate India's progress in 9 key areas. It is done on February 2019 and it is now 2022. And we have to see that its impact of this report in India, in the Digital India program. Digital world, the rise of platform economy, digital ecosystems are essential for digital transformation in the digital world. In this connection, today's topic is very important. Digital ecosystems are essential for digital transformation in the digital world. What are the emerging technology which are impacting? AI, 5G, IoT, serverless computing, biometrics, augmented reality, virtual reality, blockchain, robotics, natural language processing, and quantum computing. We have three ecosystems: Industry 4.0, Society 5.0, and Agriculture 4.0. Industry 4.0 came from German. Society 5.0 has come from Japan, and India has to give to the whole world Agriculture 4.0. And India has gotten another blueprint to make India new India by 2047 through its Amrit Kal led up to 100. We have a national logistic policy to operationalize the development of unified logistic interface platform. And I would like to quote our Prime Minister's historic Independence Day speech on 15th August 2022, wherein he pronounced 5 prongs. Goal of developed India: remove any trace of colonial mindset, take pride in our roots, unity, and sense of duty among the citizens. Sustainable Development Goals of UN, the Agenda 2030, 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and 169 targets to be achieved to attain the future we want. Transformation through technology, pathway for industries to embrace digital and operational and knowledge transformation for participating in global value chain. Dear participants, my first interaction with the guest speaker, Mr. Prakash Ramachandran, was during the faculty development program. It was a 2-week refresher course in computer science on the topic New Generation Technologies under the Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya's National Mission on Teacher and Teaching, Ministry of Education, Government of India, New Delhi, organized by Ramanujam College, University of Delhi, Open Technology Foundation on 8th July 2021. Mr. Manish, we can see this one later. I'm yet to come to this one. Okay. I talked on the theme e-governance to digital transformation. I talked on the theme e-governance to digital transformation, sectors, agriculture, health, and MSMEs. And on that, I was able to see the architecture of their emerging open tech foundation. They talk about T3, transformation through technology. T3 technology includes IoT, artificial intelligence and machine learning, cloud, edge, 5G, and Wi-Fi. That also put it as of now. And transformation as a service. Transformation as a service is very important. Many startups can come in this area under Digital India program using T3. And horizontal T3 is digital T3, operational T3, and knowledge T3. They named it as DT3, OT3, and KT3. And verticals, health, education, and finance. And I also requested them to include agriculture, industry. And 4 O's, they say that open community, open technology, open process, open governance, open innovation. I asked them to include open innovation. And they talk about 5 C's: communicate, collaborate, contribute, commit, and be consistent. And 6 P's: passion, position, plan, promote, perform, and be persistent. Be consistent and be persistent are their mantras. So it is very fantastic framework. That's why I've decided to get associated with this foundation. Digital T3, IoT, cloud, edge, telco, payments, embedded, and semiconductor. Operational T3, registration, robotics, automation, CI/CD, DevOps, GitOps, and MLOps. Knowledge T3, big data, analytics, AML, AI ethics, modeling, simulation, Jupyter terminals, TensorFlow, MATLAB, and other AI and ML tools. Quantum T3, quantum information and communication, qubit gates, logical circuit design, algorithm using qubits and gates for practical use and quantum simulation and etc. etc. A big agenda is from them. Digital economy impacts all the 17 sustainable development goals of the United Nations and its agenda 2030 very decisively. Digital platform economy is emerging, and digital ecosystems are essential for digital transformation for the emerging digital world. While the open digital ecosystem empowers and enables collaboration in unprecedented ways, there are many underlying challenges emanating from such interconnected digital works that need to be addressed in all seriousness. All digital technologies continue gaining adoption and thereby intensification. They start enabling new ways of organizing how values is created. This transition means moving from value chain to a digital ecosystem. Innovating organizations are adopting and quickly implementing open innovation approach for developing new products and new services. Dark data acquired through various computer network and operations are not used in any manner to derive insights or for decision making. Businesses within industry share open standards because this allows them to bring huge value to both themselves and to customers. Transformation and innovation are two terms often used synonymously, not the same thing but linked. The United Nations Industrial Development Organization, has been the strong advocate of standards to promote digital transform and innovation system, digital transformation and innovation ecosystem. The idea is to use digital transformation to improve innovation management systems in organization and companies within the framework of ISO 56002, which was launched by ISO in 2019. ISO standards provide a common international language. ISO 56002 2019 is the guiding framework for innovation management systems. So if digital transformation through digital operational and knowledge transformation has to adopt innovation management standards 56002. The government's programs such as Digital India 2015, Aspirational District Program, Aspirational District Program, Open Network for Digital Commerce, Secured Logistic Document Exchange of India are leading to digital transformation and innovation ecosystem in India. ISO standards provide a common international language. Operational technology versus information technology. OT and IT have long lumbered on independently. Both the but technical developments, particularly IoT, are compelling the convergence of these two disparate, separate disciplines. Operational transformation through operational technology, knowledge transformation through knowledge technology, and digital transformation through digital technology. And we have to think in mind the knowledge pyramid which is existing traditionally: data, information, knowledge and wisdom. It needs infrastructures everywhere, and we collect data through experimental data. We have social network data, satellite data, sensors data, citizen observation data, and the statistics collected through statistics. And we have to link open data. We have to adopt a semantic web, understand semantic technologies, and build up decision support systems. It means that digital transformation leads to operational transformation, leads to knowledge transformation, leads to organizational transformation. This doubling farmers' income by 2022 report talks about digitalized value chain for about 400 agriculture commodities, which can facilitate one agri-tech startup in every gram panchayat. It means that India can facilitate 2.25 lakh agri-tech startup in the country, one for each gram panchayat. Digital technologies like blockchain, IoT, artificial intelligence, big data analytics, GIS, smartphone, internet, cloud computing, language computing facilitate farming community empowerment. progressively through newly evolving agricultural informatics discipline. With this background, let us now turn to the address by our guest speaker, Mr. Prakash Ramachandran, on a very important topic, transformation through technology, pathway for industries to embrace digital operational knowledge transformation for participating in global value chain. Today's topic will motivate and galvanize the participants watching our telecast through facebook.com oblique Sobit University India, youtube.com oblique Sobit University in, or linkedin.com oblique company oblique Sobit dash university. For synergizing missions like Digital India, Make in India, Saharmala, Sagarmala, Skill India, Startup India, Stand Up India program at village level, and also to establish 2.25 lakh agri-tech startups in the country. Emerging open technology envisages transformation through technology T3 mantra, and let us unlock the opportunities in India at the earliest. Emerging Open Tech Foundation looks forward to bring collaboration through Sobit Institute of Engineering and Technology, deemed to be University Meerut, Ramanujan College, and other premier institutes and industry players like Jio, Bharati, and Vodafone to exploit 5G in Indian subcontinent and Ardo region. Let me introduce the guest speaker to the audience. Mr. Prakash Ramachandran is a visionary and co-founder of Emerging Open Tech Foundation. He is accredited with several firsts, including realizing the concept of mobile virtual network operator using OpenStack in 2015. He was the poster boy of network function virtualization inauguration in Xi'an in East China. He led the MANO working group for Open OPNFV under Linux Foundation. He was part of Apple iPhone implementation at AT&T Mobility in 2008 in Silicon Valley. His insight comes from 3G UMTS, 4G LTE, and LTE advanced deployments as part of AT&T Labs in 2011 in the US. Having served at OpenStack, now Open Infra Foundation, as Indie Member Board of Directors 2017-19, he represented India at three consecutive annual term, during which he saw through the OpenStack transition to Open Infra with Kubernetes and containers, storming to dislodge the popular OpenStack. He was the chair of OpenStack Indrop working group at Dell to ensure the product working group revival when Kubernetes was displacing OpenStack. He is a senior member of IEEE and was vice chair for 2017-19 when he decided to move to FutureNet Generation as co-chair of Edge working group to focus on Edge Cloud, mobile edge computing, and 5G beyond. He was program committee chair for New Next Frontier in Computing in collaboration with the North American Taiwanese Association, NATA. Going back to his earlier career in India, after his undergraduate at MSU Baroda in 1978, Electronics and Communication, he graduated from IIT Mumbai in 1980 with focus on adaptive equalization and simulation using microprocessor 8080. While working as microdata consultant at Xi'an, he was instrumental in launching the postgraduate diploma in computer science, only second to Madurai Kamaraj University. Currently, he is passionate about trying to help the 5G India initiative. With his 40 plus years of experience in electronics and semiconductor industry, academics, and rural and research and development, and filling the gaps to make India Inc. a successful leader in the world with reaching 6G oblique Wi-Fi 7 launched by 2030. Besides prolific speaker worldwide, he recently spoke at IMC 2022 on 5G and beyond to kickstart the extending edge computing to Air Force and space. With this introduction, I would like to invite Mr. Prakash Ramachandran to the international webinar series on open source digital technology towards self-reliant India, Atmanirbhar Bharat 95th edition, to talk on very important topic, transformation through technology T3. Pathway for industries to embrace digital operational knowledge transformation participate into global value chain. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Uh, First of all, I must congratulate Professor Moni for his persistence in spite of his long term here with India Inc. My first other besides, let me get to the top first. I must say, Shobhit University Chair, Vice Chair, and other AARDO secretary. Well, welcome to all of them. Besides the professor himself, who is moderating, and other people behind who have been working to make this happen, and to the participants, that I am very lucky to be part of this presentation, and I will try to do my justice on the topic, which is focused on open source digital technologies for self-reliant India, which is Atmanirbhar Bharat. With that, I will kickstart the uh, presentation, and it is the objective here is to understand what is the historical background under which India has been operating, and how we have been able to overcome the challenges starting from COVID-19, what we learned, and how mass technology and open technology is key without IPR constraints, and uh, other way to be able to transform through technology the goals to add to the value chain, which is the key. Value chain is very vast. It includes a lot of things. And we have to focus on priority. So based on the sustainable development goal is what we are going to follow this. So let me introduce you the Emerging Open Technology Foundation before I get into more details. I have my uh, co-founder, Professor Gokhale, you can see on the screen with the specs, and I am with the specs. So two of us are from IIT Bombay, and I have to acknowledge our Vice President, Vipin, who is shown at the top. Three of us, along with two more directors, one Ganesh Hiragodar, he is in the link there, and Malini Bhandaru, who is also there from IIC Bangalore, and she is now working in Silicon Valley for Intel. So we have one from Dell, Intel, and these are the five actually executive members who have been driving it. And we have been associated with NIC directors, one or the other. And this time it is, we are very happy to have Professor Moni on our board of directors, and we definitely acknowledge his value for what he brings to the table in guiding us and steering this for the future for the global value chain. And especially open source, they say open source aid the software, and software aid the hardware, and hardware aid the infrastructure. So there are many a thing, the evolution happens. And so we have some of the best advisors, including Professor Moni and other NIC directors and the C-level retirees who have really gone through the industry. And we have Government of India representative and several India member of boards who have helped us. So as Professor Moni mentioned, our focus has been on T3, transformation through technology, education transformation, financial, and then health. And then we have added now agricultural transformation, as because you can see 54-55% of the industry with a 18% GDP, as Professor Moni mentioned, is a very key value for us proposition. And we believe in that of the software development goals, we must focus also on this. If you have any questions or anything, you can always contact me at secretary@eotf.info. Plus, other links are there for your information. Let me move on to the next slide. So the next slide talks about the domains. So what happens is, most of the time, whatever is at the infrastructure level, whatever is at any level, unless you apply, it has no use. So the domains are important. Therefore, for being able to sustain the environment, which is key for our sustenance of our children and our future, we need to make sure that we spread the use of resources all across the globe in an equitable manner, which is called Antyodaya. And so terminologies are very different if we go from English and Hindi and Sanskrit. But important thing here is there are people who are poor, there are people who are hungry, who strive to get food at the table, and therefore those food agriculture domain is important. So is water resource, so is sun energy, so is factories, so is making sure that we have equality amongst the various people, whether it is poor, rich, women, men, gay, whatever. So essentially, we want to make sure that everybody gets to be part of this domain's development and growth, so that the growth touches everybody, nobody is hungry, and that is why agriculture is one of the main thing. But at the same time, to achieve any technology transformation without believing in it, without having educational inputs to it, to the human being, our personal transformation will not happen, because personal transformation is key to be able to do the technology transformation. And so we do have, besides the three other, we have added of late, because we find that skills development is one of the key elements to be able to make transitions for people to transform themselves, to believe in what they are doing and go after their passion. And that could be in any of the verticals, could be health, financial, health, financial, quantum, you name it. So at this time, I would say that we know that there are 17 and there are 1963 or some number which Professor Moni quoted, that they are the
169.
169. So what happens is,
targets to which
you have, whenever you do something, you have to know what is the output. Without the outcome, execution is useless. So when you say outcome, then we have 169 targets. And in those areas, how do we measure? How do we execute? That's the key. And therefore, the planning always starts with those metrics. And I believe, as a planning commission, Niti Aayog, which is now the running all this, they come up with all the information that we need to be able to position ourselves. Not only that, the competition is there all over. Everybody wants to have everything, and therefore there is going to be challenges. And so, as a industry and academician, as well as a research fellow, I have found that you have to measure before you can do anything. And that's why statistics is very important, and the usage of statistics by this present government is fantastic. One has to see that not only you propagate, but you also execute, and execute till you reach the perfection. And that's the key to success for the SDG. Now, I will come to the SDG, what eOTF believes in. And therefore, you can see at the top, we have added agriculture transformation through technology, which is the portion SDG 2. SDG has got several goals. SDG 2 is the one which relates to agricultural transformation through technology. We have taken it. Health is there, education is there, finances. These are all verticals. Now, if you go to the transformation through technology, it has got digital operational knowledge transfer, DOKT3, we call it, and that is part of the SDG 10. Now, to be able to do anything, you need people and you need the skill. So industry and government both has to contribute to the employment, or for the startups India of this world, and that is what the SDG 9 brings in. So you've got various SDGs we have incorporated in our architecture, the framework, so that we are able to help build the vision, mission, translate the vision to mission, and be able to do the policy research along with the government to enable various technologies and development goals so that they are delivered. So you can see here the map of OTF SDG, and this is a very ambitious, I know, and we started literally 5 years back, and it was called as Open Technology Forum to start with, and then eventually we found that there are some issues which we cannot handle in open, some of the industry because they require protection on IPR, as well as some of the dual use technologies. So therefore we incorporated as Emerging Open Technology Foundation, so that we can separate open as well as certain things which are to be done based on the geographical location. We are based in Mumbai and India, so we have to follow the Indian government laws and regulations. And that is what we are making India for Indian by Indian. That is our mission, vision, and our transformation through technology is our mantra. So this gives you a big picture of what we are facing, and the challenges are no less. And I can tell you that CIDSA and CITSA, these studies which Shobhit is planning for the IoT 4 and Agri 4, Agri 5, we believe that those are important in like in bioinformatics. This informatics for agriculture is very important, and we believe that we have a common ground and common understanding, and our wavelengths match. And therefore, Professor Moni's coming to us is a real great boon for us, and we will look forward to working with him as we move. So let me now switch the gear a bit, because we have to say, where do we start? So before I get into the details, first I want to make sure that information, communication, and technology, ICT. Earlier we used to call IT, IS, ICT, and ICDT. Today we call it, but D is digital transformation. So ICT to ICDT we are moving towards. But let me just say fundamentals are no different as far as we understand ICT. And because communication is connecting everybody, that's the key. Information, like it can be content, it can be news, it can be voice, data, video, it can be sensing, it could be control and management. All this information, there is information theory also, probabilistic, but let's focus on practical things. So if you have this information, you need to communicate. Now the communication starts with analog. Initially it was always analog, signaling, and then it moved from analog to digitization, and therefore pulse code modulation and digitization of binary bit 0 1s. And then it went from the analog, which is more of the baseband, like we say 0 to 3 kilohertz is our voice, my speaking. If Lata Mangeshkar sings, maybe it may be 30 kilohertz. So you got variations in the voice, and that could be similarly for our media. If you want to present something, it could be MP4. So what you find is, it's not just the radio signal. You ride on, like if you want to move faster, you take a auto or a car so that you can reach faster. Same way, a carrier has to be ridden by the envelope of a signal to be able to ride and go over long distance. So that is why you have a carrier frequency, and that is why telcos are the key players who manage the carriers. And on that, they ride the envelopes, they ride on that to be able to transport through various methods. Like example, if you have analog sensing, you do synchronous. If you do digital, analog synchronous means you will do optical media, but if you are even a copper media. But if you are a digital, I think, then you may do Ethernet media. With there is a stack available for that. We'll go into that. But we have to remember that video payload example, you try to encode and decode. That is where we have MP4 and streaming and all that. So you will find that if you have, example, if you have the analog signal, then you modulate and demodulate, because that is how you write the carrier, on the carrier, the signals, which is the signals which is relevant to our usage. So you find that in entire thing, the technology has moved from analog to digital, digital to analog, transmit to receive. When you transmit or receive, you have to do a discrete Fourier transform and an inverse discrete Fourier transform along with the band pass filter and all that, so that you can remove the noise and interference and all. So the basic of communication is that you will see, one is the cellular communication, other is the wireless communication, Wi-Fi communication. Even though wireless encompasses both Wi-Fi and cellular and any radio or any optical, but generally we say wireless uh, it is taken for granted that it is cellular because it has become very popular because it can go longer distance. So let me turn the page now from ICT to data communication, which is the fundamental which people need to learn. Now, data communication is one part, that is the communication part. What about the information? Now, information is digitized these days. Once it is digitized, then the question is, how did it all evolve? So it started with operating system. On a given hardware, you put an operating system and then you connect using the data communication. But before you connect, you need to have a compute processing, storage processing, and that is where the operating system role comes back. And Unix was the first operating system which was written in C by AT&T fellows, and they brought this and they threw it open because they thought that it needs to be devolving, and Berkeley picked up, and therefore the Unix was the premier one. And then when the hardware went into microprocessor level, then Linux Torvald tried to implement it, and slowly and steadily around 90s he got into Linux. So from Unix we moved to Linux, and from Linux we went into stack upper layer, which is managing the applications. So Linux, Apache, MySQL, and Python, Perl, and Python, Perl, and PHP. These were the terms used as LAMP. Then along the way came the OpenStack, and OpenStack is nothing but a cloud. And this started around 2000 when virtualization from VMware took off, and then everybody started doing virtualization. So virtualization led to infrastructure as a service. Now the way to look at it is cloud and virtualization are inverted. Cloud looks from top, virtualization looks from bottom. So your stacks, if I put a 3 stack, which is the standard stack for cloud, it's called as infrastructure as service, platform as service, and software as service. So when this came in around 2010, we moved into OpenStack. And 2013 to 2020, the rapid growth after that was humongous. 10 to 20, I think we really turned everything upside down. And Loki is nothing but Linux, OpenStack, Kubernetes infrastructure. Because now not only the OpenStack cloud VMs became, virtual machines became important, even containers became important. So the Docker and Kubernetes containers became the key, and slowly and steadily the Kubernetes has overthrown OpenStack cloud. We have to accept that VM is not the way now, containers is the way, and Kubernetes is the way to go. And Kubernetes is nothing but an open orchestrator where you have the existing state, current state. So if you have a current state, it is not the desired state, then it will be automatically have a loop back so that it will automatically adjust. So human people do not have to worry about automation. It will automatically do, provided you have written the automation scripts. So Kubernetes is a fantastic way of managing. You don't have to worry about upgrade, update, all is automation. So the industry has moved from knowledge to operational transfer. It moved from the infrastructure automation to the what do you call the transformation using automation. So because you can't do a job fast, if you can do a job faster, you are saving the money. So that is the key. So Loki is one which came around 2019 when OpenStack, I was board of directors of OpenStack at the time, and we looked at it, and it really needed a, whenever there is an innovation, there is a challenge, and you have to face the challenge upfront. And this is where Kubernetes challenge was faced by OpenStack by reinventing the wheel, by calling it open infrastructure, CI/CD, and Linux Foundation is the mother of all foundations. You have to accept that they have done an excellent job and they are the drivers, and so they brought the Cloud Native Foundation. So Cloud Foundation and Cloud Native Foundation are the next step in the evolution. You have under cloud, you have over cloud. That means you can do under the cloud infrastructure, over the cloud you can do logically the verticals and all based on the platform that you do. So you have seen that platform as a service has moved to Kubernetes as a service. So this is challenging, but it is still not happened, but it is in the transition. So you can see that most of the cloud providers will give you ask for a server, forget about server, I'll give you Kubernetes cluster. You take a cluster and do what you want. So today everybody is writing native to Kubernetes or associated Kubernetes, and therefore you will find that software as microservices. From software as a service, it has moved to software as microservices. And those microservices are nothing but components you build together. You can drag and drop components and over the graphical user interface, and simply remove all the details, devils in the details abstractions, and then make the software as a microservice. And those are based on the C-Loki and CN-Loki. That is cloud based. So today we do OpenStack as a cloud, and on top of it we have Kubernetes. That is called OpenStack. That is called K. So Kubernetes over OpenStack. You can also have OpenStack over Kubernetes. Some people still want to have Kubernetes because that is what is available. Put a OpenStack on top of it. So the control planes of the managing the software or the applications or the microservices can be done OK, KOK, whatever you want. All those inversions are possible, and that is where the innovation occurs today. Some may require a larger because they don't have VM ready, container ready, so they may do it on VM. So you disaggregate the VMs and then deploy. So the deployment is key. Execution, execution, execution. That's the key mantra for the technology transformation through technology. So technology is evolving, yet we have to make sure that our solutions and applications, whether it is related to agri-informatics or whether it is related to IoT industry application, we must be able to evolve and move forward. So this is why this is important. I presented this as a key. One of the cloud is important for 5G. Don't assume that communication alone will do everything. You need information, you need communication, you need information and tips. You require the information to be the closest to where you are using, etc., to reduce the latency, etc. So we'll come to now 5G technology. So from cloud, we are moving to now mobile network and 5G technology. So there were generations of technology starting from 1G, which was analog, which was PSTN, and you would have heard about our MTNL and all those previous generation of PNTs and all that. So we started from that and moved to, in the 80s it was there during the earlier government, and now in the 90s we moved into what you call circuit switch, where you started getting switches, ESS switches and DMS switches from Nortel and from AT&T, and then we started putting them into what you call as one of those switches which is housed in a central office, and all the MTNL and all those people manage the circuit switching instead of doing manually handing the call from one to another through the that was what was the evolution in 90s. Then came the 3G, which was 2G evolved into 2.5G, 2.7G, called GPRS and GSM, and that was the key. So it started in 1G started in Telstra at Australia, in Australia. Second one went to Finland, Nokia. These were the two real key players in the second generation. But in the third generation, all joined en masse. EU, US, everybody started competing, and that is where in 2000 it became a really big wave. A lot of undersea cables were, and we call it as optical deluge, and there was a huge demand, and expecting huge demand in 2022K transition, people put a lot of fiber optics and a lot of people gained, and suddenly market went down. So that's the challenge. You can have market up and down, yet you must be able to sustain. And so 3G defined, because there was a different camps there. There was a CDMA camp, which is space division multiplexing. Then you got time division multiplexing. There you got frequency division. All of them were not, each one tried to protect their territory without coming to some understanding at the early stage. Of course, later they came, but by the time the 2000 IMT 2000 was defined and everybody started moving with the Netscape and the web browser coming in, the information was really were able to disseminate over the web, and therefore the web 1.0 started then 98, and 2.0 came into picture as a ASP format and all that. And Professor Moni mentioned to you about the web, dark web and web semantics, which is very important. And that came but little later in the application towards the 4G and 5G, because this is where you will find that all this cryptography, what you call the blockchain, all of these entered into 4G, where moving from circuit to packet switch was, so packet full all packet network is what happened, but this was still at the Ethernet level. A little bit of IP connectivity is required, but at the same time it was layer 2 layer 3 combination, which included MPLS and various other protocols whereby we were able to communicate. And cellular, and that was on the fixed network. On the cellular side, we went into obviously FFT, DFT, inverse Fourier transform, and we went into OFDM and SCDM. So single carrier OFDM and single carrier FDMA and orthogonal frequency division multiplex access OFDMA. These were the two technologies. Uplink and downlink were different, and that is how we got into 4G, where there is always, in every technology, there will be a core, which is the back end, and there will be a front end, which is the radio part. So you can say radio unit and then the other unit. Other unit we usually call as G node B for radio, so that there is a transmitter which is from the cell tower, which transmit to the user equipment, which in turn collects the signal and interacts. And that in the behind the scene there is a communication, all the optic fiber, CPRI, common public radio interface, then Ethernet over optics, which is nothing but eCPRI. So there is always a technology that is coming up, and we have to keep track of what is going on. And in the 4G, actually, there was a jump towards the 5G. People were trying, and Korea did the first, China did next, and then you got EU and US jumping in. Now India has finally cracked, and we'll come to that. So you will find that IMT 2020 is what we have reached now. Now we are defining for the 5G IMT 2030. Even though I have put it in IMT 20, that means in this time frame, current time frame in 2020s, we are at IMT 2020, which is closing. 3GPP has something called release 17, which is the last one for 5G 15, 16, 17. Most of them have implemented 15 and 16 at this stage because there is a lag between the standardization and the deployment. And ITU has specified here, as you can see, 5G, how is it better than 4G? 4G, what we are able to do is we are able to still do some streaming and all that, but at a lower level of throughput and at a latency of hundreds of milliseconds, maybe 20 at the best we have come to. Now we have to go, because human interaction, if I say something, it takes 5 milliseconds to respond. So our response times, human response time should be at least be achievable for us to be able to do instantly follow. Like if I do a AR, XR, MR, whatever, the reality, virtual reality and all that, then you need a response time which is matching, and therefore it's a processing which is real time. And as you can see, the throughput of the 5G is pegged at least downlink is 20 gigabits per second and uplink is 10 gigabits per second. Now this is peak data rate. Okay. Now what have we achieved? We have achieved up to 1 gigabits per second at this time. So that is at the peak data rate. Average will be different, but at least you can see if I am at home, I can get a broadband using optics or something, I can get around 100 megabits or 200 megabits per second. So that's the level of, similarly, you can get on the cell also, 200 to 600 and 500. Those are the numbers which we see normally in the 4G. In the 5G, we have to reach higher, and that is what the goal is. So you can see the three triangle, the three important, one is called EMBB, another is called MMTC, and the third is called URLCC. What do they refer to? The top angle refers to the peak data rate, which is 20 gigabits per second downlink and 10 gigabits per second uplink, which is obvious because you are always listening more than saying, but that is going to change because people are going to start launching their own streaming and all that, and therefore it is like you have seen in the TikTok era what happened. So we are going to see those kinds of things. Everybody wants to do some, younger kids especially, they want to do a lot of things, and industry wants to capitalize on it, use it for various purposes. So what are the various purposes? You can see video, high definition, ultra high definition. Then you have got augmented reality. Then you have got industry automation. That is the, so the dots are placed in a position where what is the positioning with respect to the three, in terms of throughput, in terms of connectivity, number of sessions. Like you, with 5G, we are going to get 1 million devices or sessions per square kilometer. That's the expectation. Are we there yet? No, we are only doing something like 2,000, 5,000 maybe. So we have to reach a stage where we have to multiply by 10x almost everything. And same with the latency. Current latencies are in the order of hundreds of milliseconds, and the better LTE, advanced and all that, is closer to 20 milliseconds. But that's not good enough for the applications which are listed on the left side. You can see here, ultra low latency for self-driving car example. 0 is manual automation. 5 is full automation. If you leave a car on the road and it should go on its own, how is it practical unless there is a connectivity, there is a image object recognition, it is to steer properly. So there are levels 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels. And so for that drivings to happen, it will take a lot more than we can bring. But definitely the smart city application, smart home, voice, these are at the low end, so there are low hanging fruits which we can reap on, and agriculture is one of them. It doesn't require that kind of a important, even though we may require more sessions, but we can definitely do with less than 5G. So 4.5G, 4.75 to 5G is good enough. And with the launch of 5G, we are definitely going to get everything we need. We don't need more than what we have for the agriculture specifically. So this is giving you how 5G is better than 4G, but there are also gotchas in the sense that energy consumption is high. If you are going to have a powerhouse to run a, because density increases, the cell tower density increases is humongous. So if you have to run a power station, that will be difficult. So therefore, we have to look at what are the throughput. You can see here, you can see how from 2000 to 2020, how Wi-Fi as well as cellular, this is coming from courtesy of CommScope, who are setting up the 5G testbed and their devices, small cells, what we call. I'll explain you that. So you got small cell, you got a macro cell, which is the 5G tower, which is ranging from 1 to 2 kilometer coverage. Then micro cell, which can cover around 500 meters to 200 meters. Then you got the femto and the pico cells, which less than 100, 150, and that is indoor and outdoor. And the Wi-Fi is almost indoor. So you can see that the range is important, coverage is important, distance is important, and by physics, law of physics, as you go distant, the energy goes down, and therefore the this one goes down. And what you see is you are going to have this kind of a problem if you go distance. The energy will reduce, so you have to amplify, you have to do something, or you have to put a repeater or something of that kind. So this is what happens in the case of our Wi-Fi and cellular technology. Now I'll go to the next. Here you can see, what does this show? This shows the cluster of this shows a cluster of cluster effect. You have here, normally one cell will have 3 sectors, which is you cannot cover with the antenna all the omnidirectional. You can have, but that will not be so good. So normally you do form the beam, and you can see 3 beam, 3 sector, and try to cover the maximum. That's what happens. Now you can also have multiple what you call the it's called hexagon. Hexagon is the standard way of putting macro cells. So you put macro cells in different places so that you can cover, and therefore how many, example, a city like Bombay, how many cell towers you will need, macro towers? It will be at least 2,000 to 5,000. So the number of cells required is high. This is only for 4G I am talking. What happens to 5G? You have to have 20,000. So small cells you will require more, and even further femto, and you'll need every house a Wi-Fi or a private 5G. So essentially it means that the range, coverage, and signal strength are important. And you can see here this shows that you have got cell tower G node B, which is the G. The terminology node B was the term used in 2G. It has started evolving E node B, G node B. So E node B is for the 4G. G node B is for the so there is nothing but a node with a radio tower with a transmitter, because it is network driven. Your cell cannot do anything unless the cell tower tells and talks to you. Therefore, it is transmit driven and receive driven. Transmit driven from high poles, high antennas, which can send the wave to your device, and your device can recognize, and your subscriber you can recognize, and then connect and have a workflow which is going between to ensure that you are secured, you are this person you are saying, there is no man in the middle attack, and finally it will connect the what you call user plane, which is the data which you can transmit between. And 5G is full digital, and therefore we have new radio, we call it. So you can see that the standard stack, TCP/IP stack, is 4-layer stack. The standard OSI reference stack is 7-layer stack: physical, data, logical, transport, and then session layer, presentation layer. Similarly, TCP/IP is only 4-layer. It's transport control. That is, you can have UDP or TCP, which is messages are secured. Both of them are possible. Synchronous and asynchronous you can do. And so these are the stacks you can see. And radio stacks is a little bit different. So we should know how different are they. So here you can see the radio, a little bit of deployment of topology. This is coming from a solution which Geo uses, or earlier it was what you call as Radisys, which they have bought. They had this technology and they were trying to distribute. You call what you call as when you have a component and you try to disintegrate and have multiple modules like microservices, then that is called as radio unit is separate, distribution unit is separate, and the central unit is separate. So you got the RU, CU, DU, the ORAN philosophy, and it's nothing but disintegration of functions so that you can scale each of them individually, and then you can combine and you can have a standard interfacing. So this is the standard interfacing for a order of 10 millisecond for mobile broadband. This is not even, I'm not putting EMBB. EMBB definitely it has gone to 5 millisecond, and then further you can go to 1 millisecond. So real time has to happen, and you can see small cells are there all over. So these are the nodes of small cells. More the higher the frequency, less the coverage, and less the coverage, more the antennas, more the radio units, and therefore you have to share the radio units, or you have to share the processing of the radio units. So that is why you will find that if we have to get a 1 millisecond, this UPF must come into the RU itself. That's the way, because you cannot have a processing unit sitting somewhere in infinity, and then distance light philosophy round trip time is so much that you cannot do anything. So more and more you will find that the processing power comes to the edge, and therefore edge computing has become very key factor in the solutions. So let me move to now some numbers to give you. Like China obviously has the population, and they have around billions of consumers, and so their numbers of cell phones is in the billions. This is an older figure, still 2019 types, but at least gives an idea that India has got 1.28 billion. So if you find that the number of consumers who are using cell phone, China, India, Indonesia, United States, Brazil, Russia, Nigeria, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Japan. That is the order in which. So the number of user equipment are smartphones that we call today. Earlier they were called feature phone. Now they are called smartphones. So the smartphones have to be produced in numbers, and 1/3 of these gets this. Every 2 years you have to replace. There is no way you can continue with that. And therefore still the production needs to be there in spite of our 1.28 billion, because the number of UE per 100 people is not still very vast in India. Example, in Hong Kong, they use around 250 devices approximately. It's G, I think there is something mistake here. So 250, and in Maldives they use 245 devices. So if you are going to have so many devices or so many connections, what that tells is it is not the population, it is the multiple of population. So therefore you are going to have demand for many more devices, and every 2 years it is going to get discarded. So therefore there is always going to be demand for production. So it's not like, maybe it will not go up, it's not in the upward, it is in the what you call a phase where it has reached the peak. It will but maintain certain number. So there is still a scope for production of cell phones, whatever we call Make in India program or DLI, PLI, whatever the schemes we have. So that gives you some picture of the numbers. Why is that cell number important? Because that is how the sessions are made. You may use a cell phone, you may use a sensor, you may use a PDA, you may use, so the devices keeps on changing, and connected intelligence is the important thing. You are going to connect and you are going to have intelligence, and that is going to be from not just machine, not just from human beings. You have 5 to 10 times these the IoT devices, that is things. So you are going to get sensors connected. So these numbers are just projecting that this is what it is and how much it is going to be, 10 times, 100 times. So everything is going to fall on the edge. So edge is very constrained. You can't have in edge lot of power, lot of compute. So how do we handle it? Do we offload it? So there are terms called offloading to the edge, offloading to devices, offloading to cloud, and so on and so forth. So I'll go to the next slide. So this gives you the number, which is giving you some kind of a idea. Now remember, one of the killer application, likely killer application, I'm putting likely because there is none at this time for 5G, is likely to be VR, virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality. Like I can be present here and telling you and talking to you and doing some games and all that, or maybe we can, as if touching each other, smelling each other. Those are the ones which are going to come as XR. And XR is one of the key killer application, appears to be, because it is based on gaming. It is based on the dual usage like military, defense, reconnaissance, weather, so many things. So you can see healthcare requires a remote operation, therefore you need XR to be able to assist. So you'll find like glasses, these are some of the devices, and these are going to be very, very popular. And military application is also there, without naming them, but essentially you are going to have hail and the mail, what they call. Hail is the high altitude, long endurance hail, and medium altitude, long endurance. Means if you throw a drone or a UAV in the airspace, it should be able to run for 24 hours because it needs to go and figure out something in some sea, maybe for our reconnaissance of borders, what the other people are doing, and so on and so forth. So it is not like you can just get away in one shot, and like smaller drones we use for commercial application, those won't help. So you are going to see those engineering marvels which we are going to see, and we are going to have a lot of this. Retail business already uses like e-governance, e-commerce. All of them are already using the UPI, which is the one of the India's best free freebies for the India to reduce the cost. I will go into the next one now. So you see that 5G XR AR is important. Now there are benefits for business. Of course, it will take 2 to 3 years. There will be network issues, but they will be minimum, because you cannot have 800 market, 800 district in one day, right? So you have to go where metro market, okay, Bombay, maybe Bharti will do in Delhi, Jio will do in Bombay, somebody will do in Chennai. And so there will be markets which will be covered, metro markets, and then it will move from metro towards. So until then, you will have teething problems, but there will be no network issues. It will be minimum, as long as it will be able to switch from 5G to 4G automatically, or wherever you go, wherever it is present, you will be able to handle that. And then you have got low power, which is very important, because you can't construct. There is a saying that we are just at the edge. That means we have some 300 gigawatts shortage, excess right now. But if we go at this rate, within no time we'll lose all the power supply. Everybody will be shut down. So we have to produce power also. So energy is important. Lowering the energy is important. Producing more energy is important. Producing green energy is important. So you are going to see a lot of changes here, and that is very important for us to have a carbon footprint being reduced to minimum. And so you are finding that capacity for data in 5 years is going to be humongous. They are in the, currently it is in petabytes per month. It is going to go to, I don't know, next level, whatever you call. So this is giga, mega, pico, and tera. So you are going tera, peta, and hexa. So you are going to have a lot of petabytes and petabytes, thousands of petabytes, which is what the expectations are. And these benefits of this is people will be able to collect the data, analyze the data, use for the sampling, as Professor mentioned about the intelligence, writing algorithms. So there are several benefits of 5G. Now, these are all, we spoke about technology, but no technology can do any better without having to look at what are the risks involved. So there is a risk in the radio, and that is what people feel that it will impact, but that's not true, because there is government to take care of it. And not only government, they have compliances, these are required. Like I spoke about the macro cell, microcell, picocell, femtocell, the number of users limitations you can see, location is indoor or outdoor, you can see, and then you can see the coverage, how much, 10 to 50 meter for the femto, and if I go pico, it is something like 100 to 250 meter, and that is why microcell is going to be the most used, because at least it will cover between 250 and 1 kilometer, and the output power is 1 to 10 watts, which is not major. Macro anyways sends 10 watts, and that's not impacting us. We have seen for 20 years now. So expectations are that even though frequency changes are there, there are not many, there is no evidence that it is causing any problem. And therefore, this, why I said RF subrange are of the cell types differ, and microcell is not going to impact, as far as there are no evidence till date to prove that there is something wrong. And as long as there is no proof, it is, we have seen studies, educational studies have said that there are nothing, and so there is no fear of a 5G. 5G is here to stay, secure, safe, and safeguarding our lives. So I'll move to the next one. Here you can see trends and the future telecommunication. Of course, AI ML is one, definitely it is going to be part of it. Robotic process automation, which is already we have spoken to. Cloud technology, of course, they are going to work in conjunction with telco or telecom. IoT or Internet of Things, it's basically machine to human, human to machine, all those interaction, and in machine to machine, and so on and so forth. So software is another piece which we need to develop, and we are good at it as Indians, and therefore we have a lot of scope for that. And definitely these are the trends which will continue, and we believe that India is in a strong position on that. Not only India. So here comes the punchline. At the end of all this, what you learn in 5G, there has to be somebody who should drive it. Unless you own the responsibility, nobody is going to do anything for you. And India has learned the hard way from the COVID that you have to take the things in your own hand and drive it. Not only for yourself, for Antyodaya, for the entire globe, because unless you do for yourself the service, you really cannot offer services to others. So thanks to our Honorable Prime Minister, who inaugurated on October 1st the 5G inauguration with, you can see here the Vaishnav sir, who is the Minister of Communication, Telecommunication, Railways, etc. And then you have got Mukesh Ambani, the great leader, industrialist, who is chairman of the what you call Reliance Jio. Then you have got Kumar Mangalam, who is representing the Birla and Vodafone. And then Prime Minister, of course, nobody needs to tell, everybody knows about him. And then you have got This is one of the state ministers, Yuvraj, and then you have the Sunil Mittal, the great from the Bharti Airtel, and then you got Rajaram, who is one of those DOT folks. So you can see that this was a huge successful launch. The day it was inaugurated, the same day frequency was allocated, and they started functioning. And it's credit to our systematic approach which India has taken. In spite of being late to the table, India is now 5G enabled. And in the next 3 years, we expect that all the districts which are there, 300, 800s of them, are, we call it as markets in technical term. All the 800 markets will be covered like nobody's business. So if you say 50 markets is covered by one provider per quarter, then they will do 200. If you take two providers, then they will do 400. If you do 2 years, then they'll do 800. So you will be able to cover, but because there is a staggering, there is a supply chain problem, there is a war, there is a inability to get some of the components, inability to have the skill set to deliver. So there are challenges. Despite all the challenges, India will overcome like it did for COVID-19, because we have learned that you have to take things into your hand and go after it relentlessly, like Professor Moni is on the 95th inning of his bringing me in. So there, same way we have to go confidently, and there will be risks, but the risk you take, you get the reward. So you see that our Prime Minister has given us the lease, second lease, and this October 1, you will remember, is a red letter day in Indian governance. You will find that communication, which is the key, and that is going to drive the information into digital transformation, operational transformation, knowledge transformation, and not only 2030, 2047 targets we have. So our planners have woken up to the call of the nation that no more non-deliverance. You have to deliver, you have to execute, you have to say what you want to do, you have to deliver. And it's a pleasant surprise for the world that we have a leader who drives by numbers. And that is same thing with China, no doubt. They also have a Xi Jinping, who is again going to be renamed on the 16th, tomorrow, I believe. But essentially, we have great leaders, but each leader has to look after their country first before doing another countries. And therefore, it is a struggle, it's a challenge, but defining clearly what we want to do, and when they need, we do supply. Like in COVID, even though we could have put vaccination for our own people, but our country went out of way to deliver to other people using the Vande Bharat program. And so you can see having some kind of a what you call traceability, trackability, and so right people at the governance, good governance is a boon to this country. And we are blessed to have our Prime Minister and never tired Vaishnavji. You have to talk to Vaishnavji. You look at his railway plan, you will be amazed what all they have done. They are looking forward to 2040s and 2047. And so this is not for our generation, it is for the next generation and next generation. So the thing that is important is this was a red letter day in Indians' history. And people will remember because they brought in the industry, the government, the funders, the users, every community was brought and launched with a thumb saying that even though we are late to the party, we will be ahead of others in no time. So our economy of 3 trillion is now moving towards the 5 trillion and 10 trillion mark. And that's the goal. And you will find that slowly and steadily, even though there will be ups and downs, our ranking in the international is going up. And I would not, I would guess that like times there were when there was a Cold War between Russia and America, it will be Cold War between India and China. It may happen because that is the earth is moving towards Pacific, and all ARDO folks need to remember that you have to take advantage of both, leverage both India and China, and we are here to support you and you should work with us. If they have got a belt and road, we have got a necklace. So you can see that everybody checkmates each other, and so we are not going to be behind, and we have more open, as you have seen. And so we invite all of you from RDO to participate and make sure that you leverage on whatever initiative government of India and the people of India specifically take to do business with you. So with that, I will go to the next slide. This was one of the one of the most important thing I wanted to share with you. Having attended the IMC 2022, having spoken, I have seen this. So Professor Moni asked me, what is the SWOT analysis for 5G in India? So I have to straight say that there are too many things in this, but strategy is the first one. So strategy of providers differ. Providers, it is maybe spelled check, but Geo is doing inside out. That means Geo is planning for Make in India and telling the world, this is our product, use it. It is standardized. It is following, they have contributed to the standard and they are going with the standard architecture. Whereas Bharti Geo, so Geo calls it true 5G because they are doing 5G. It's a greenfield type operation, even though they have brownfield in the sense they have 4G customers, but they are folding everybody into 5G backend. Whereas Bharti Airtel, to start with, is going outside in strategy because they have African customers. They want to have other customers retained. Therefore, they are going with a non-standard access, which is first going to the new radio and then using that to leverage the existing backend core, which is called, and then combine that to deliver. So their costs are low. So both have their reasons. Here it is by volume, there it is by using the leveraging the existing infrastructure. But these are the two who are the biggest player in India. To name the third player, BSNL is sticking to its LTE legacy holding, and Tata's are working with them on the software. They will slowly and steadily move from 4G to 5G as the costs go down, because as a government organization, they need to not overspend and they want to contain, and they are trying to connect the unconnected. So therefore they believe that they have an option in satellite communication which can be used. So satellite internet can be an option for them, and which is anyway going to be part of the 5G as we move. So you will find that there is a variety is good for India because we have outside in, inside out strategy. So we have both, plus we have got the satellite which is available, and I have spoken about the 800 markets which I am basing on the district level as market centers. So our usage of technology is time division duplex, same as China. So India and China are using time division duplex, and it seems to be a superior one compared to frequency division duplex, where you will have one frequency for uplink, one frequency for downlink. Here you are taking the same frequency, and in the time your uplink and downlink resources you are sharing within the time frame of 10 milliseconds, so that 1 millisecond can, and with a band of 15 kilohertz is what you use in 4G narrow band. Now we are using 30 kilohertz and maybe 60 kilohertz as the narrow band in which you send your resource blocks, and then users can split in a band of 100 megahertz. How many 60 or 30 kilohertz you can have? That many number of sessions can be conducted, because you can, and not only that, it is also times 10, because you got a 10 millisecond as the one time go and one time come of the transmit and receive packets. So you are going to have, plus the statistical who calls when in a given area. So we have to be able to manage based on the statistics and based on the probability curve and the normal curves that we should be able to manage with the TDD. And we are looking at, as I said, 50 markets build rate at least. It implies that we have to do 4 RUs per week, which looks almost 1 year. So I have given you the figure already. So funding and the supply chain is the weak link right now. Strategy wise we are good, but funding and supply chain. So why is the supply chain? Because of the lockdown in China, because of the war in conflict in Ukraine and Russia, EU's energy is down. And so at the end of the day, this pandemic has taught us that it is important that you do not get a long tail. Normally it would have been a V curve had this not happened to recover back, but we are expecting now a U curve because of this. And what it means is that the opportunity for the startup is there because they need time and they can now jump in. This is the right time for all the 5G guys and other folks who want to get into 6G in the future to leverage and deploy whatever it takes so that they can rush to meet the deployment targets. And there is opportunity because outside people cannot supply, so we have to do semiconductor ourselves. So India has taken the gauntlet and said, okay, we will do it. And what we will do is we will bring semiconductor technology, we will bring the design technology, we'll add to our software, we will do software defined everything, software defined radio, software defined governance, software defined anything, and so that automation can be applied, and thereby we will reduce the risk of the threats of blocking from other countries. And not only that, those parties which join along with Indian strategy like ARDO and others like Quads, and we have our alliances, and those will gain out of it. So essentially India is going to be the leader in this space, and we do believe that Indians have the right mindset, and there is a opportunity, there is a threat. We can overcome the threat. The wars are the greatest threat, and economy is greatest thing. These two are the ones which you can never prevent. Security we can definitely prevent. It is doable. So there are certain things which are unpredictable, like COVID-19. Who expected 100 years this will happen? But it happened, right? So we will have some of the acts of God which we cannot, supernatural, which we cannot control, but all other is a measured risk. And the SWOT analysis proves that we have the strength in software, we have certain weaknesses which are more to do with the defense, and that will overcome. And then opportunities, plenty of startups can take, and the threat, anything from our cross borders we can take easily, provided we focus on dual use technology and reduce the cost for both for the commercial as well as defense use. So that's the goal, and we state it very directly. We don't say anything behind. We just say this is what we are doing, and that's our approach, because any directness always helps. Okay, to certain extent you can do all that diplomatic things, but facts are facts, and we know what we are doing, and we want to be very straightforward in there. And why we do it? It has a Antyodaya as the goal, and it's peace. It's not for war. It is a defense and not offense. So we believe that what the SWOT analysis for 5G is that India is going to change drastically in next 3 years, and the roadmap is only for 2 to 3 years. But if you go further 5 to 10, you are going to, because I'm part of the future network group called International Next Generation Roadmap, INGR. So we are drawing maps in the IEEE for 2030s, and we believe that India is on the right spot at the right time, with the demographic advantage as well. And so there is a lot more going good for India than you think. And just to add, beyond 5G, what else? So beyond 5G, we are going to see the terrestrial communication, non-terrestrial communication come in, where air and space, you can see air and space. The ground communication is good. Air and space communication is going to come into it. And we are already sitting in Mars, our devices are there. And so our ISRO and other commercial organizations can match what the SpaceX can do or Baidu can do. So we are equally competent, and we have the competence to provide the all coverage for the unconnected through satellite antennas, through the LEO, GEO, MEO, that is the space where free space optics work, and radio communication stops somewhere in the high altitude platform and low altitude platform. All commercial airlines is between the 10 and 17 kilometers above the mean sea level, and anything above 17 goes into high altitude platform, where you do the missiles and the UAVs, which get, if you do a payload, it is iced because of the cold, and therefore the weight increases, so the thrust reduces. So you got to deal with the through sensors. So that is why sensing technology is important, not only from the agriculture point of view, but from the defense point of view. So connected intelligence using sensors is important, and because then you can get the feedback and apply the feedback. So you will find that LEO is low Earth orbit, which is less than 2000 kilometers, and 2000 to 3500 or 3600 approximately is the MEO. So the focus of GEO is on MEO, and because the number of satellite required is less, around dozen should cover the entire equator, and they should be able to connect anytime in the Indian subcontinent, everything. Whereas the focus of Bharti is on the LEO, so that they can there the number of satellite required is in the hundreds and hundreds of them. So they already have 70, 80, so they are already using it. So the approaches are different from different organization, and that's going to be there. Geosynchronous was always there. Our NAVIC, which is there, augmentation services for the roads, for the maps and all that is used, India.mail, India.maps, whatever. So those are already there in circulation. They were part of the Intelsat, and we have been doing this from 80s, right from the TV, black and white TV came. We have been part of this program for the rural broadcast, and so we can always broadcast. It's two-way communication. That is the one which is now being addressed. So you will find that topology of integrated ground airspace in the 3D, because you got lat long, and then you have to have another, that is the altitude, and so azimuth, what we call. So you have to cover r theta phi or xyz coordinates, and that's what is important for next generation network. I'll move on. So this is one of the part of the 6G, 5G and beyond, which we are going to incorporate, and our people should be ready to produce this. And now another question, as usual, Professor Moni has got a way of extracting the information out of me. So he put another question: what is indigenous? What is imported? Now I have to give hats off to him. So we normally, what we do is, when we produce something, there is something called bill of material. So you do a software bill of material, hardware bill of material, and then you say, these are the components I'm going to get from. So there is a reference design, and then we deploy in the manufacturing. You collect together, you component, then you take the bill of material, then you go into production planning, then you do the control, then you do the quality, and then you release, and then you do the general level. Before that, you do the tests, and then do the general level. So this is a standard process which is adopted by most of the industries, and the same is true for 5G. So what do we have in radio unit? What do you have in distributed unit? What is the software? What is the reference design? So indigenous, to the extent, we do have software design and development capability. We have the 5G core software, which is already ready in Magma India. Our people from RCDU have done a great job interacting with both Linux Foundation and Magma and Facebook to get the code, and they have deployed and they have tested. So we have indigenous as well. And this is, I'm talking of lab, but the industry has got its own. They have actually already deployed. So the core is not the issue. Core is already available. The issue comes down, the major is data center, because of power requirement, and then ability to put them in the right place to reduce the cost of power, of the inputs which are related to the location, they say cost factor, power factor, and then cooling factor, power for running the equipment and then cooling the equipment. All these are important, and therefore there are certain places which turn out to be better than others. Plus, where is the global connectivity coming from? Is it out of Kerala, or whether it is out of Tamil Nadu, or whether it is out of Maharashtra or Gujarat or Calcutta? Where are the undersea cables which are laid? What's the good point? So those are important, because data center is required to run the core as well as the edge. So you will find edge requires a lot of caching. So system integration of vertical solution is an important factor. So what is indigenous? These are all we can do. Box we can do. We can build boxes. We can do power supply. We can do low-hanging fruits like data center, and then be able to put all the things. But the critical part, some of this are not available in India. even though we do manufacture make in India servers and all that, but still the level of requirement of the real time and the speeds, etc., like nanotechnology, even if we bring the semiconductor merchant silicon for FPGAs, we will only be doing at maybe 28 nanometer, but still we'll need to do for a CPU, if you want to change the processor from the Dream RISC-V, from the Intel x86 to RISC-V or to the ARM, we need to produce, right? So the basic issue is you cannot do everything. So there are some things which will always be, the question is how many? Is it Atmanirbhar of what level? Is it 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, and then 100%? And not only we will not do 100% because we want to involve Ardo in some of the work. We want to share with their strengths. And so you are not going to be 100%. You are going to be 60 to 80. That is the level where we should target. And Atmanirbhar means ability in case certain things blocks to be able to do it on our own or to find right partners who are in our ecosystem. Therefore, Atmanirbhar, by my definition, I would put it at 60 to 80% target is reasonable. And not only that, it also gives opportunity for our partners and our collaborators globally to be able to contribute, and their lower costs we can add to our lower cost, and then it becomes a win-win situation. So imported will be there. I'm not denying it, but the capability to be able to source, to not be choked by, like Germany today, because of the dependency on Russian oil and gas, their economy is going down. We do not want that. So we want to prevent any risks, but at the same time, certain things like special development kits for simulators, some of the CPU, GPU, FPGA for acceleration, merchant silicon, and some of the reference design for multi-layer PCBs, some of the standards which we have adopted, which is standard, right? It is a global standard. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. That's not the way to go about. Reinventing wheel is not good. It's like leveraging existing, getting at a cost which is lower, and adding our value. And the global value chain is by adding to the global value chain what we bring. That's key. So I will leave it at this because I have given the answers which he asked and hopefully done justice. Then obviously the important thing is what is the software. When we talk, we have to talk about the stacks. Like we talked about the TCP IP stack, we talked about the OSI reference stack. There is a reference stack even for transmit receive for the user plane as well as control plane. See, remember, always user plane, control plane, management plane, these three are key. You control, that means you orchestrate. Manage, you install, you upgrade and all that. And if you do user plane, means you are actually aggregating the traffic, and that is the pipeline you have built through which the information is flowing. So you need all planes to be equally strong, but generally the user plane and control plane are the two. Dashboards are the management plane that is available in plenty, and many of them can be reused or substituted with different things. So I will focus here on the radio user stack because 60% of the cost is in the radio. That's for people want to talk about radio. But what is radio? Radio unit. What is radio unit? Radio unit consists of an antenna, which is hardware. Then it consists of a power amplifier. You have to have a class A amplifier because you can't allow interference, and you cannot have a bandwidth coverage of say 100 megahertz because there is no power amp, op amp which will cover that. So you have to convert to intermediate frequency so that you are getting somewhere less bandwidth to cover. So you can do 5 to 10, maybe 20. If you go to terabit networks, which is going to be at 142 gigahertz with a spread of 112 to 187 or something, and that's approximate I'm giving. So that is the next 6G. 6G is going to be based on that, and there will be reflectors. There is no line of sight. There will be non-line of sight. That means there will be reflector. It could be static or active or inactive. So the stack which is here needs to be modified for that. So what I'm trying to tell you is G Node B stack is right now available. Even the CWIT, which is in Chennai, IIT Madras, They have got a G node B, but it is not split. And that is where how to split into RU, DU, and CU. The focus on DU is important because DU has the acceleration. RU, it's a physical thing, amplifier, which is more of a hardware, but at the same time, beam formation is another parameter which is cribbed in, and that means you have to know radio really good to radio engineering, really to do the beam forming. And beam forming is essential for 6G, for even 5.5G. So I would say that radio stack is important. Therefore, there are two. One is called radio link controller and radio resource controller. Radio resource controller sits outside and controls the radio, whereas that means it allocates. So management has to go through the RRC. Therefore, there are RAPs which manage, and there is a XApp which manages the other side of it. So you have to have cloud side of it. So infrastructure and radio, both radio infrastructure and compute and communication, other infrastructure like storage. So you have to write XApp and RAP. These are the two terms you remember over the stack. This is service data protocol. So service data access APIs. So you will find that file layer is physical, which is media, where you connect either the optics or over the air OTA. MAC layer is your link layer, where you talk about the Ethernet and interfacing between the RLC is the radio link control. If you have a dipole antenna, or if you have got a horn antenna, which is popular for what you call the satellite, that is what you use. And then PDCP is packet data control protocol, so that you, if you have packets running here and there, you make sure that you are able to put it in sequence. So PDCP is for the sequencing, so that you are able to maintain the sequence. Otherwise, I will talk and Moni sir will talk, and both of us will get confused what is coming here. We need not garble that. So the sequencing of packets is important. Then service-based implementation of this. So you will find that transmit UE side, G node B side, which is the this is the transmitter side, this is the carrier side, this is the user equipment, human being we are taking. Instead of UE, it could be a machine also. So when you have a machine or a human being connecting to the radio has its own protocol. They are matching one to one, and this is the layers which need to be implemented. And these are for the streaming media, that means data transmission. Whereas this is for the control and signals. Sensing and control both has to follow the control plane. And therefore the control plane will have similar thing. Only thing is there is a non-access stratum, which is nothing but to do the Aadhaar-based identification of the user or the device, or it could be keystone based in terms of OpenStack, or it could be role based access in terms of Kubernetes. So all these have to be incorporated into the radio subscriber database and be able to manage. So these are some of the things which I wanted to share to make sure that you understand there is a lot of scope for Indians to do work on. It's never ending. And there are devices which are there. So validating device is one of the important things, like Samsung, Jio, Bharti, Oppo, Xiaomi, Nokia, Motorola, Sony, Vodafone. There are several startups they have come up with. So there is a demand for billions of devices and IoT devices, including the cell phone. This is how to validate. So to validate, you have got something in the Chennai COI, that is obviously Cellular Operator Association, Indian Association, which has been COAI, that is. They have been working through a long time, from 2010, 2005-4, I believe. And I have seen them from 10. I have been following. They are a really good statistics masters. You can pull statistics from there and see who is doing quarterly what. And that's very good for our analytics. You got Industrial Association for Mobile Industry Association in Delhi, Qualcomm India, Tata Communication, Mahindra, HCL, Wipro. These are the premier system integrators. Then you got the Infosys, then CDOT you got, and then CDAC you got, ITI is there, BSNL. So there is plenty of people who can validate, plenty of providers who are there. And so cell phone validation, basically main important is security. You don't mess up with the SIM, universal SIM. And the programming to make sure that you have key exchanges properly, which is used by PKI and all that infrastructure. So there is a specific infrastructure key that they are, and man in the middle, they don't allow to attack. So these are some of the things which is important from that point of view. I'll move on now to the geopolitical and economics. So geopolitics and economics go together. If you have to be part of one or the other camp, like it or not, or you can have certain things with one camp and certain things with another camp. But essentially, the globe is driven by self. You have to make yourself first do something. Then only you can teach or coach somebody. Therefore, you will find that US had been leading for long. It has still the highest GDP, around 23 trillion. Whereas China has come down to 17, Japan 4, Germany 4 dot, US, UK and India are 3. So you can see this is from purchasing parity point of view. If I take a coffee in China, I'll pay 25 yuan. If I buy a coffee in US, I'll pay $5. If I buy in India, I will pay maybe 10 rupee or maybe 40 rupee, depending on where I'm buying. So that is purchasing parity. So based on purchasing parity, India is far ahead in the game. We are in the 10 trillion range because our value, rupee has a value, and that's key. And of course, it will bring down a little bit because of the inflation. But annual growth rate is somewhere currently predicted around 7.4. This is 2019 figure, I believe. But we are in the 7.47 range, 6.1, probably 6.9. That's what predictions are, and we will meet that easily. That's not a problem. In spite of the global challenges, we will. And then obviously Indians, the amount of money that one makes per capita is around 2,200, whereas China has got around 10,000. So China is 5x greater money making. But you go, there is no difference. I have observed there a fellow pays for a house very similar amount as we pay here in terms of yuan. So their purchasing power parity is no greater than us. They are even worse than us. So we are better off with a good purchasing power. We are a really great in terms of economics. And so our stupid economics is we always look for cost. But now our mental makeup has to change. We have to look for quality first. That's a key psychological change which we need to bring in our, that it's not the cost. If cost is the thing, everybody would buy Chinese. But that's not the truth, because you need quality, and there is a time when it lasts. If I buy a cell phone, if it lasts me for, if I buy an iPhone and Android, how much it lasts versus if I buy something else. So there is a cost factor and quality. So quality to cost should be equated, and therefore we have to mentally become more quality conscious. That's the key message on this one. So going forward, I have now quick, you can see, I will just rope through it. Subcontinent wise, India and US.
Also, please rush it up.
Yeah. So I will go through this so you can see that subcontinent wise, India and US are two major alliances. They have in G20. They have, so we have got our alliances as defined here. You can check it out. But we are good at it, and so is our comparison to China. We are in the same subcontinent, but at the same time, our area of influence differs from there. Ours is Ardo, theirs is their own specifics, which they have tried to. We have common like BRIC and IMF and so on and so forth, but nevertheless, both of them have their own strengths and weaknesses. So our SWOT analysis already for 5G we have done. I'll go back into the agriculture. There are Kharif crop and Rabi crop. Kharif crop is the one which is monsoon crop, and that starts somewhere in the month of June and goes up to November. So already we are in the midst of Kharif, almost coming out. We are in October now. So you will find that we have done a good, because of the vagaries of weather, you are going to have, and Kharif crop is a water base. So rice is major, and for Rabi, the major is wheat. And that is comes from somewhere in the December to May time frame. So it is not hard and fast. It's simply that depending on how the 64-year cycle of the world goes on, some changes do occur, and we do adjust based on what they call panchang here. And so you do have variations, and our forefathers have done a great job. And there's right, hats off to them. They can even project the sunrise and the sunsets and the moonrise and the moonset, and all of these are very important for crops. And crops requires watering. They require, you need to till, you need to crow, you put the water, then you have to sow the seeds, then you have to, after sowing, you have to harvest it at the right time, and then you need to post-processing to be able to produce something. So Kharif and Rabi are the two major crops in India, and this is for all the southwest, including Pakistan, Bangladesh, and other African regions which are in the subcontinent. So this is the standard. Now I will just run through the quick. What are first thing is, why is it important? How do we make agro producing transformation 83? To transform, we have to understand what are the sociological diversity in the system, in Indian system, or even any local system. So local crops are different. Somebody wants a bhindi, somebody wants a what you call palak, somebody wants a whatever they call it as tomato. So different people want different at different time. Then cropping pattern differs from, because Professor Moni has already said that 60 what was the number 2 acre is what 2 hectares is what people more than 60% have less than 2 acres. So what can you do? So it is not a huge farming, it is more mechanical than
more than 85% of the operational holders are having less than 2 hectares of land. Smaller marginal farmers. Yes.
Fantastic. So you can see that lower margin, lower cost, lower everything. So mechanization, we don't need to do heavy even mechanical automation to be able to reduce the cost, and the time frame for individual farmers is important. So different soil types are there. Somewhere it is red, somewhere it is white, somewhere it is black. And so depends on what can be grown. What is the farm size? Farm size, we already have mentioned, less than 2 acres for more than 80%. So irrigation is important. What is the method you are using? There are many methods, whether you are doing by rain. And so crop usage, and not only that, whatever you produce, you need to process and store it. So these are sociological diversity is very wide in India, and therefore the farm implementation machines are influenced by those. So our designs are very local, very Indian, and this can be also applied to Afro-Asian countries, because there also the volumes of what we have is very similar. So you will find that the design, development, testing, and refinement of the different crops, for different crops you need different, like rice, paddy, you may have a different way of cultivating versus a sugar cane may have a different. So equipments are also going to be different. So all these have to be properly validated and recommended, and we have got the research body AICIP to do that. And there are several universities. Shobhit is one of them. We can talk to them also. So what I find is there are agro-social diversity, and so here I'll just rush through it for lack of tillage is one of those which is mechanical. So you need to have action carried out for nurturing the crops. So you can do like tilling the ground, germinating, putting some soil erosion, this one, avoid the moisture, excess moisture. And so these are all the mechanical means and the ways to do it. And this will continue. I'll just make sure that I show you. So this is just a showing that it's a mess there all over, because the locations are small, and within that you have to do everything. So you'll find trucks going here and ladders putting there. We are connecting to satellite to get some of the picture images, the remote sensing, what they call. So you got a lot of things happening in a small acre farm, and then they have something like this. You can see you are seeing a seeder and a planter here. So there can be single seed planter which they can run through like a simple what you call a vehicle type, or you can attach it to a tractor if that is bigger. So you will find that there are many devices, seeding device, then hulls, and then maybe they were using bullocks carts to drive it. Now they use a tractor instead. So you are going to have automation, and obviously at the end of it, it produces something. When it produces something, then you go and harvest it. So you got ways and means of collecting mechanically, and then these are in the 2010 time frames these were done, and there are devices available. So ARDO, if they see that they have an opportunity to leverage this, they can easily do it. The devices can be manufactured easily. Even they can take the design and manufacture themselves. So All we have to do is arrange agreements and all, and that should be very easy. And India is very lenient in that; it wants people to survive first. So survival, and then applying the chemical to crop is important sometimes, and sometimes it is becoming problematic. But at this level of urea and other have been phosphates have been used for the growth. But if you try to do it several times, then the soil becomes really bad. And so natural farming is what is the next wave in India. Trying to do natural farming is the key. And so you can see that there are many devices that were there, including thrashers and all, reapers, harvesters. And then obviously after the grain is produced, then you have to do a cooling or a removing the moisture and those kinds of processing. Because this processing, like tomato, you may want to produce a tomato juice, so you want to make sure that they are cleaned properly, they are in the proper condition, and then they are routed properly, etc., etc. The same thing with different crops. And so grain dryers, coolers, all these are there, and pre-processing you can do. So this is where I will refer to Professor Moni, who brought to us the information which is going in the next stage of agriculture transformation. And in this, the digital architecture, we have got smart integrated agri-system and a smart rained agri-system and tribal. So basically, your irrigation is important, water is important. How do you get water? Whether you get from the rain, whether you get from irrigation channels, or you bring from the rain field, or you do some kind of a tribal way of doing what they are doing to produce. So all these requires a digitalized architecture in this stage to be able to help everybody, and that can be possibly be looked at. One of the easiest for reaching the larger places is through 5G and the 5G combination with satellite. So you are going to have a rich way of dealing with this digitized architecture. And then agro, you need advisories which government can broadcast. That can be done through possibly satellite, radio, which is already being done. Radio is the simplest one. And then because you can say Man Ki Baat you have heard, and that's one of those fantastic innovations. Then you got village level smart village and smart farming, which is like smart city. What we do in villages, what they do, they need panchayat, they need some kind of a socialization and some kind of a sharing of knowledge between them. So we can do that smart village with smart farming and all that. Then you can talk about the agriculture value chain. Obviously, farms to profits is what is doubling the income for farmer, as Professor Moni said. Now that is not happening easily. It needs to be done in a way so that you reduce the cost, reduce the risk, reduce the vagaries of the, and all this is being done by the government by through the programs that are available, Krishi program and Kisan programs. And they have been really focused on this with the constant advertisement in the what you call DD TV 24/7. You get all this, and it's fantastic that they are doing this, because this helps the digitized access to inputs by putting the links, and so that they can take their cell phone, connect, and then they are able to get the inputs, like what is happening in the next door. Oh, some fests have already come in the next village, so they can get the information, they can protect. So how to divert it. So this is one of the examples. So there are many ways in which they can get. Not only that, the program of banking with the UPI has really catapulted. Aadhaar was the first one, followed by the banking government gives direct, all the intermediaries are gone, and that means people get the money direct. They don't have to go and no more go to the babus and try to get things, which is used to be difficult, but everybody is now coping up with it. And definitely this is a great government is giving credit. No more of those suicides and all that. People are, everybody has an honor. We have to respect their honor. And so credit is important in this, and government is very much enabling that, and bankers are also following the suit, because government needs them to do, and they are penalized otherwise. So it is a good sign that farmers can survive, and not only survive, they can get money, get inputs for seeds, get input for whether it is whether to do urea or whether to do what crop and what cash crop to do, what not to do, and how, what rotation to do. So there are various things, how to do drip irrigation and how to make sure that their labor is less and they are able to educate themselves, educate their children. So a lot of digital access is really changing the whole picture. And we are thankful Professor Moni has put forward this 7 point to the DFI 2022 volume 12B report, and the government obviously looks at this. And integrated land and water management is important, because land is one thing where you stay, as well as you need to have water management to be able to do the farming. So that's a very important thing. So every drop of water is important. You have to conserve and get the best out of it. So you can see that farm also, if you have a farm with let's say some egg or something, then if your chicken gets what you call disease, then it will disrupt the whole thing. So we have to make sure they are protected. Health of animal is important. Dogs are cats and whatever you have. So not only personal health, you also have to keep the ecosystem so that you are able to manage the health for fish, water, like water, you have fish, they need to get oxygen. So all this is important. And I think uh, digital technology in agriculture strategy recommendation is a fantastic 7 point, which we must address. And we believe this will happen as it is happening over a time period. And the whole architecture is called system of systems, which is here depicted, that how starting from a product, how a smart product uses, like you dispatch systems, refrigeration system, and then a distribution system, how commercial products are dispatched, time to deliver, in time delivery, inventory, and all those are important. Then production system, obviously you have here the partners and various ecosystem players who come together, and the system of system actually puts everything in perspective, right from ground level, from starting from irrigation to your power to your human application of the mechanized farming, and then getting the electricity energy to do the work and be able to deliver in a timely manner. Because if you have got a 2 acre and you have to do it in 5 days, and if you do manually, you are going to take 20 days, that's not worth it. So you have to mechanize. So you go take the advice, get the equipment, get everything. So it is a execution, as I said. And this system of agro is a great way to look at, picturize it. And it is also part of the 5G ecosystem, as you can see. What we do for industrial IoT, we can apply to also agriculture. And this is a AI design way, AI way of doing things by automation, by having, like, if a drip irrigation, if you put the timing between this and this time, there will be water circulated, so you don't waste the water. So these are important. So time saving, cost saving, power saving, less risk, higher rewards, higher returns, doubling the income. So all this is feasible because of the design, smart farming and smart villages. And so these are two elements which Professor Moni has put forward. And we want to share with you that we are going to have one more of these semiconductor industry coverage, because semiconductor is one of the key elements for the India to launch the automation, electronics, embedded, and agriculture automation, as well as the industrial automation, which are the key for manufacturing, because manufacturing needs to be the centerpiece for supply chain disruption to be avoided. Logistics is another. Gati, we have got other programs which are doing that part, but essentially it is intermodal. Intermodal means you can do truck to train to ship to air to air to. So all logistics have to come in place for like a milk produced in Gujarat has to be sent to Delhi or has to be sent to Calcutta. Then you need the refrigerated, and you need a way of stacking them together. So these are all part of this digital India, and we need for all that semiconductor, because chips we cannot be depending on forever, and we can even doesn't we don't have to have the high end chips, because that's not our goal. Our goal is what we need can be done with minimal cost, and 28 nanometer if we can pull off, that will be great. I'll be more than happy, because if we go to other end of it, we can always use data centers. So plus the requirement of RISC-V is emerging. You will find that in next 5 years we will be in the RISC-V, which is our open source semiconductor manufacturing will depend, or can become the usage point for it, because you have to drive based on instruction set architecture, ISA. And ISA for RISC-V is universal. It can be done for small, big, medium, large, 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, 64-bit, whatever. And then that's the key. So whether you do embedded with non-Linux or with Linux, that's the key. So all these semiconductor manufacturers, they are looking to invest in India, and we are happy to welcome them. And you will see Ajay Jalan, who is here. He will be doing some of these, which I think Professor Moni will share with you. And then I will move on to the next. This is, of course, whatever we spoke, form extension 4.0 for empowering the crores of people. Absolutely. This is the one which agriculture, IT business, and farmer production organization, FPOs, are following, and agri startups are coming up. So this is a fantastic way of going about, including the cloud computing and cognitive computing, which are nothing but connected intelligence, and be able to apply this using RFID for tracking. Example, if you have a shipyard and you have a port of dropping certain luggage and taking away, you need a RFID to track, so that assets are tracked properly. So you can use RFID. Internet of Things, we have spoken about. Big data is about having data and collecting and trying to aggregate and analyze time series analysis and statistical analysis and those kinds of things, whereby you are able to inference, how fast we can inference, what do you do, how to close loop, do loop that is, so if something is down, how you get replaced by another one, those kinds of things. So machine learning and these are all part of this, and I'm pretty sure this is a fantastic way to go about for the okay. So ecosystem here, how the things occurred. 2015 is when the first launch of at the entry of the new government, they put down this, and by 2022 we are there already, and we have achieved what was objective, and then measured. And obviously the detailed reports are with Professor Moni, and he can refer you. The situational analysis, yeah, COVID did change some of the things, but in fact it increased the digital transformation in a way which we would not have even imagined. And with this 5G launch, we see the operational transform and knowledge transformation taking huge steps, that India will be able to not only start up, stand up, skill up, but also deliver, execute on all the transformation, including agriculture, financial. It has done already. Whole of UPI is worldwide known that how fast we have done. And so you are going to see now, we had milk revolution, now we are going to have agri revolution. This is going to be definite. And with amount of people that will be relieved, plus there is an agglomeration, that is rural and like example, Deng Xiaoping in China, he saw that everybody moved from farm to city, and they got the advantage of around 10x. So here we are going to see somewhere in between, neither rural nor it's going to be, our predictions are that it will be semi-urban or semi-rural, and therefore it is neither of the two. Neither you are going to go away to metros only, nor you are living in the rural. So agglomeration of the two is what is predicted, and we believe that's a good way to go about. And our mission of Make in India, Digital India, all the startups and all this 83 will collide, and we will definitely have a end result which is going to be fantastic. So with that, I have now on the last couple of slides, So this is National Digital Communication Policy, NDCP. This was done earlier. This is for making sure that privacy, data anonymity is there, and then there is a way for people to connect to each other without really infringing into privacy and enabling security. And we are able to secure our all our resources, assets, and all, because you can't let anybody anywhere into go and blow the power lines or the dams. We need to protect, and so therefore electronic uh, national digital communication is important for us to secure our infrastructure, secure our country. We cannot let, and that is true for every country, not necessarily India. They do it because it is you cannot take chances. You have to de-risk and make sure that these are taken care. So you can see that GramNet, BharatNet, NagarNet, all these are important for these vehicles to enable us to do the secure asset security, which is important because we build buildings and buildings. One blow off, you saw in 9/11 what happened. 3,000 lives were lost. So we do not want that kind of a thing, even by accident, by fire or anything. So we have to protect all around. A simple thing can cost us. So we have to be very conscious and very, what you call, programmed or processed way of doing. Like example, in California for the earthquake, they do drill. Same way, fire drill. Same way, we have to do all these security drills in order to enable the national digital communication to support the preservation of our culture, our social society, and add value to the value chain, global value chain, through our transformation, like digital transformation, operation, and knowledge transformation. I think I am about it, and you can see conclusion is that we are going to have big successes going forward. To date, we have successes. We already are 44th in the ranking, as you see. Innovation is one of the key, technology is other, and education is another. So we are all in that peripheral range where we are moving forward. And 1.3 billion Aadhaar was one of the biggest one, thanks to our what you call Nandan Nilekani, for my colleague from IIT Bombay, from getting that 1.3 billion population into the ID. And obviously successive governments worked with each other, and the direct benefit program with the farmers through bank has really removed all the hurdles of intermediary and all the commissions and all that. And obviously it freed people to do other jobs which they should look, because that is what the goal is, including banking. When Rangarajan Commission was there in 80s, same thing happened. A lot of people lost, but it's important that you have to retrain, reskill, reapply, and innovate. This innovation cycle is not going to stop, and UPI is free for your information. In fact, I got a call while we were from the HDFC for my some account, I believe. So removing intermediaries eliminates corruption and small and big places. And 5G will bring about use of XR and IoT to all verticals: agriculture, health, education. This is, I'm summarizing. Open source has greatly contributed to Atmanirbhar with full software-defined India. So we are going to have software-defined India. Anything is software-defined radio, software-defined 5G, software-defined AI, software-defined ML, you name it. Everything is going to be software-defined, because then the automation is easy to do. So join our necklace and to compete with B&R initiative, and we want to make sure that the two big powers who are growing need to compete, and compete fairly, not just be nasty. So we want a fair competition to ensure that globally everybody is able to take advantage of Antyodaya, and we look forward to ARDO join us and gain the benefits of market through our collaboration. And thank you very much, Professor Moni. I think I am, with this, I should leave the floor. And probably if is Vipin available on the call? Maybe you can invite him if he's there. Otherwise, this is nothing but this is Make in India program, Magma India 5G Core, which is put up by our well-wishers and good students and staff, starting from RCDU. Ramanujam College, Delhi University. And this was the program we had demonstrated under Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya Train the Trainers TLC program, Training Learning Center at ICDU. Professor Agrawal was the one who was in charge, and he is still in charge. And this we have already initiated. Plus, we are also working with other local manufacturers like NetWeb Technologies to make sure that we are able to do Make in India 5G. He has been Sanjay Lodha has been a big fan of this, and we look forward to working with people from Delhi, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Mumbai, Calcutta, Guwahati. We have all our places, all places. OTF has got one or the other good well-wisher and a participant, and we look forward to Professor Moni advising us and following on the path to success. Thank you very much. Thanks, Professor.
Can come out of the presentation mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
And it is very important. We were totally immersed in your presentation. Normally, this international webinar is for the duration of 1 hour 30 minutes. I think as per the time which is being displayed is 2 hours 26 minutes.
Wow.
And that shows that this how important this subject is. And you have given a complete value chain and put it in such a manner that as a professor you took a class to everybody. and I initiated it. I gave my viewpoints, and I wanted you to respond, and you brought it in such a manner that this is the situation. We have technology, we have sectors, we have benefits, and how we are going to navigate it. And but if you would have gone to any college for any seminar, they would have talked about completely vertical. But today webinar in this very meaningful to the topic which you talked about it, transformation through technology, pathway for industries to embrace digital operational and knowledge transformation for participating in global value chain. It touched every aspect. That shows that this program has to be an umpteen number of repeat programs. Today you have covered tip of the iceberg for about 2 hours 30 minutes. You can minus it my introductory remarks and so on and so forth. So I think it gives a lot of value in what India is doing. People should know about it. And you compared, you talked about geopolitics, geoeconomic, geotechnology, geoscience, and and then he said that and you took one sector, agriculture, where your open technology foundation talked about it with T3 mantra, that how agriculture is there to get benefit out of it. And you also quoted that the recommendation of the recent doubling farmers' income, that it is one of the fantastic recommendations, because as a group leader of that volume 12B, I was able to bring the experience from 1987 onwards, where government of India wanted to have a district level information system development. So 87, a landmark district information system program, where I was associated with that. I was the founder project director. And then 95, when I was given the agriculture sector, whole sector for India, I was brought in an IT blueprint. Then Government of India, Department of Electronics comes out with national e-governance program, and then e-Kranti and Digital India. Now technology explosion is taking place. And then we had COVID situation, and COVID situation is an, even though we got a lot of lesson. And then how technology adoption, even though for me it is more than 3.5 decades of journey, But the COVID situation during the period of 2 years, which is more technology development, technology adoption, which has taken place. And that is where I thought that let me use this, university platform, and also the recommendation of the national, doubling farmers income committee report, and also that, open source digital technology, how to motivate our people, especially the youth in the rural area, to make rural India smile, shine, and roar. That is an article which he wrote it in 2004. And today, if somebody, if our logo is put it on the Indian Parliament, if it has got a roaring one, people raise questions. The roaring is a success. Anybody who wants to be success, they will either go to the rooftop and cry, shout, I have done it. So roaring is essential. It brings all the energy, which is latent heat, it will come out. So I wrote that article, Rural India to Smile, Shine, and Roar, based on the five, digital technology project in the agriculture rural area, which I was able to operationalize it. And now it's 2022. Then I was able to put this recommendation in the doubling farmers income. Then I thought that as a farmer technocrat, Director General NIC, and a man who brought all the work which I did it as an academic discipline in the form of agricultural informatics, I thought that let me run this 2 webinar every week to force the issue. Like Honorable Prime Minister does monkey bath last Sunday of every month. And there is a difference between me and our Prime Minister is only one let. He is MODI and I am MONI. This is Moni and Modi. And I do 2 weekly webinars on a very important thing, hoping that one day, through this, one day people will realize Soviet Institute of Engineering Technology, deemed to be University Meerut, and the 5 centers of excellence of the Soviet universities are first university in the whole world to have these 5 centers of excellence to drive technology for through transformation, the transformation through technology. We are already adopting, and we have adopted through academic discipline. And we thought there's a pathway for agriculture, industry, and health, e-governance. And that's why these 5 centers of excellence. And that's why when we met, I thought that, we should come together and add agriculture, industry, and health as an important component in your programs. And you also agreed to do that. And it's a very important, Mr. Prakash Ramachandran, it is a very important talk which you had today. And every higher education institution under the National Education Policy 2020, they should adopt transformation through technology in at least in the minimum 3 areas: agriculture, industry, health, and e-governance. It is very important. And that's why, today's topic is very important, and also global value chain. And everything which we produce has to be seamlessly integrated with the global value chain. And so with this, thank you very much, Mr. Prakash Ramachandran, for your continuous talk without any interruption. And it has gone through as with so religiously. It is a discourse which has taken place that today, and I'm very happy. I'm fully satisfied. Let us work together. Let us bring this transformation through technology through these 5 centers of excellence. Let us bring in, relevant diploma programs, 6 months diploma, 3 months certification, so 1 year PG diploma, to drive transformation through technology through these 5 centers of excellence. And Soviet Institute of Engineering Technology, deemed to be university, is the only public university to give red carpet welcome to all our NRIs, to facilitate, to bring in technology, to develop technology, to adopt technology, operational technology in such a manner that rural India smile, shine, and roar. With this, I would like to thank our guest speaker, Mr. Prakash Ramachandran, Honorable Chancellor, Honorable Vice Chancellor, His Excellency, the Secretary General, Ardo, and the participants for participating in this program. And I also would like to request experts and NRIs who are all working in the relevant areas which the Shobhit Institute of Engineering Technology deemed to be university is doing it through these 5 centers. Please join with us and bring in your ideas, technology, projects for operationalization in India. Thank you very much. With this, I will close the webinar and we will leave the studio. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for